Hey, welcome to my podcast, Cold Narratives. I'm your host, Iceberg Green. About to let y'all hear some of these cold narratives. Check it out. Okay, y'all, what's up with it? Today, we're going to discuss this double standard in society and how we're viewed as black people versus white people and the privilege they may have that we don't get. And I'm actually sick of the disparity, man, and how they try to publicize things and make us out to be the criminals and all the bad guys when they're taking advantage of all these privileges they get that they didn't earn. So I'm going to speak on that today. Okay, so this is Mark Patrick George. He has a podcast on YouTube, and this is actually 10 years ago, and this got 1.2 million views. And this is what they had going on 10 years ago. So imagine in today's society how good they got it. Check this out.
To be white means to be a member of a dominant racial group in a society that I'd consider white supremacist. And to be white in a white supremacist society, not just a racist society, because that's almost too generic. To be white in a white supremacist society is to be able to have the luxury of oblivion, to be oblivious to the injustices, to be oblivious to racial privilege, to be oblivious, frankly, to one's own identity. So it is, in a sense, to be invisible to oneself.
Well, I think to be white in this culture means to deny the reality of racism. And it means to deny the privilege that we have as whites. Most people who are whites don't want to accept that they are privileged because they are.
They know that at a deep level, even though they haven't even, some of them may not have ever talked about it with anybody or ever expressed it, they do know that they get a benefit from being white.
Embedded in every piece of our country, it's embedded in every structure that we have, it's embedded in our economics, it's embedded everywhere.
When I walk into a bank, or when I walk into anybody's neighborhood, or when I walk into anybody's store, that I'm acceptable, that I can go anywhere I want, and I'm seen as an acceptable person. And the reason I am acceptable is because I'm white.
I know there are privileges that I enjoy simply because I'm white.
Every minute of my life, I'm aware of my white privilege, of the fact that I have a white skin, and that with that white skin comes along a whole mess of privileges that I have, and I don't ask for them, they just are there.
There are things that come to me, that belong to me, that I'm given and that I expect just because I'm white, that I never wonder about, ask about, discuss. And that's the power of it, is that the privilege of expecting that I'm going to go to good schools and that I'm going to have choices no matter what.
So do you guys think that white people get more amenities and are more privileged than black people in society, in today's society? I want you to look at everything you see on TV, from the politics and what they're doing to black people in politics. They love making examples of us and giving people of other complexions, specifically white people, a pass for a lot of stuff they do versus black people. We don't get any passes in society. And I'm sure you guys can see that based on what y'all see on social media, on the news, and all that different stuff. But me being part of the black media, I'm going to let y'all know that there's a disparity here. There's a big difference, between white and black in politics, whether it be a society, all the things we're able to do. There's just a big difference, and they're taking advantage of that systematically, and they're using it to this day. So we got to address this, and I'm going to keep addressing it until we, pretty much bridge that gap, man.
Admitting that I'm a racist, I think it's absurd to try to fight with that. I grew up in this society. I was conditioned by it. I think internally in my psyche, I've grounded and rooted those attitudes, and I see it in me all the time.
I don't like being a white man, and that's where I still am and working on it, because I know what I've done, what people like me have done.
Part of being white is just not in any way acknowledging what it means to be white.
I have a white skin, and that with that white skin comes along a whole mess of privileges that I have, and I don't ask for them, they just are there.
It's about privilege. A lot of people get to walk around thinking that we live in a meritocracy and thinking that their own hard work is the only thing that's, responsible for their achievements. I think that it means, it has, and I think that it shapes everything.
White privilege is probably the freedom to move through the world fearlessly in a way that black people cannot move through the world. That you can take advantage of opportunities with much less fear and an assumption that you'll be treated equally with all other white people.
Basically get to say what you want to, be any way you want to, you get privilege, you don't have to work as hard, you can slack off in jobs and still get promoted and still not have to worry about somebody coming after you. So whiteness to me is about privilege and access to information systems and people and power that you didn't earn.
Yeah, this part of the segment right here actually made me laugh, man. Them explaining what it is to be white and where they come from. They actually don't even know. It's still a mystery to them, so I'm telling you, this was put in place systematic. So listen to this.
Well, you can only be something if there's something else to negate it. So I guess we became white. I guess we're white because there's a bunch of other races to set us off.
How did English people, German people get turned into white people?
In America.
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. I have no idea. I honestly have no idea.
You know how they got turned into British and Scott people, how those people got turned into white people?
No.
Have you ever thought about that?
I'm not a history buff. I think culture did that over time. It's like certain words that we use in our language are not our words, or other nations, other words that come from other languages.
How did the Irish get turned into white people?
That's a good question.
I think a lot of it was early assimilation in the United States, a lot of European ethnics coming over, assimilating for a variety of reasons. Primary one being a desire to elevate their socioeconomic status. So to get jobs, to find places to live, a lot of the Europeans altered their last names to sound more mainstream. A lot of them changed the clothing that they wore, the foods they ate. So there's this, some might call it assimilation. I think of it more as Anglo-conformity, conforming to this kind of dominant white culture.
But the reality is that those persons who are white and who are considered white and treated as such in this society, by virtue of being white and treated that way, have had to give up who they really were. If they were Russian American, my father's side of the family, grandfather's side, great-grandfather came here from Russia in 1910. He had to give up what it meant to be a Jew, a Russian Jew from Eastern Europe, to become an American, which really meant to become white. The Irish had to do the same thing. The Italians had to do the same thing. The Greeks had to do the same thing. All these European ethnics who were not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants had to give up their actual identities for the sake of whiteness.
Irish ancestry with a little bit of German. I'm European, and I came over 250 years ago.
My ancestors are from England and Germany.
My ancestors are German and Russian and Scottish.
In my father's side, it was Irish, and my mother's side, it was probably English, but I don't know a lot about her side.
I'm French Indian. I guess you'd say I got a little Cajun in me.
Ireland. So you identify as Irish?
No, not really. I identify as an American. British, Scotch-Irish. Scotch, that's where my ancestors are from, supposedly, but hasn't had any impact on me. Doesn't mean anything.
I think pilgrims. When I think of where did I come from, I think pilgrims, but no. But I'm sure somewhere down the line I am.
So the last thing right here on this segment right here, this is the privileges that they get in society on a daily basis, every day of their life, as opposed to black people. We don't get these. So check these out. You feel me? I wish we had it like this.
Oh, simple things. I mean, from everything from the ease of getting a bank loan to knowing that I can drive just about anywhere in the city and not get stopped because of my color by the police.
When I get pulled over, I don't get tickets, you know. I'm a white woman, middle class, and a minivan. I get pulled over all the time for speeding. And it's almost become a joke. And then, you know, the police officers apologized to me for pulling me over, you know, and I know if I was a person of color, you know, that wouldn't happen, you know. I know that I would be pulled over a lot more if I was a person of color because I speed every day. And so I get stopped, they look at my license, and then they let me go, you know.
White privilege is being able to walk into a department store and not be followed by the detective.
I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to say God bless everyone going through the struggle. And watch out for them cold narratives that the government be trying to push on us, y'all. And to all my black people, I would be nothing without y'all. Thank you all.